What if one woman's courage could change the fate of an entire nation? What if a hidden identity, a dangerous plot, and an unexpected twist turned the course of history? Stay tuned, because this story has it all: power, betrayal, and redemption. In today's video, we'll uncover the fascinating story of Esther, a young Jewish woman who rose from obscurity to become queen of the mighty Persian Empire. You'll learn about her incredible bravery, the secret plan that threatened her people's survival, and the unexpected twist that saved them all. But this isn't just a story about ancient times, it's a tale of faith, resilience, and the power of standing up for what's right. Stick around, because we're also diving into the lesser-known details of this gripping tale, like the real reason Queen Vashti was removed and the dramatic downfall of one of the Bible's greatest villains. Welcome to Legend Stories, where we explore timeless stories with fresh insights. If you enjoy learning about history, spirituality, and life-changing lessons, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Now, let's step into the ancient world of Esther and uncover the secrets that still inspire us today. Before we talk about Esther's incredible journey, it's important to understand the world she lived in, a world of grand palaces, lavish banquets, and ruthless power struggles. The Persian Empire, under King Xerxes, was the most powerful kingdom of its time, stretching from India to Ethiopia. But behind the empire's splendor lay a court filled with intrigue, where even queens were not immune to the whims of the king. Esther's story begins with an unexpected twist: the fall of Queen Vashti. During one of King Xerxes' opulent feasts, Vashti defied a royal command to appear before the king and his guests. This act of defiance wasn't just personal, it was a challenge to the patriarchal structure of the time, where women's obedience was non-negotiable. Xerxes, under the influence of his advisors, stripped Vashti of her title, setting the stage for a new queen to rise. What happened next was no ordinary royal selection. The king's advisors orchestrated a massive search, gathering the most beautiful young women from across the empire. These women were taken to the palace, where they underwent months of preparation, learning court etiquette and beauty treatments. Among them was Esther, an orphan Jewish girl raised by her cousin Mordecai. What set Esther apart wasn't just her beauty but a grace and wisdom that would soon prove critical. But here's the catch: Esther's Jewish heritage was a secret. Mordecai had warned her not to reveal her identity in a court where alliances were fragile, and prejudice against Jews was not uncommon. Little did anyone know that this secret would later become the key to saving her people. The Persian court was not just a place of luxury, it was a battleground for influence. This backdrop of ambition and power made Esther's rise even more remarkable. Her journey to the throne wasn't just a stroke of luck, it was a carefully orchestrated plan, but one with divine undertones that many scholars believe showed God's unseen hand at work. As we delve deeper into this story, we'll uncover the layers of intrigue and danger that surrounded Esther, her daring decisions, and the pivotal moment when she chose to risk everything for her people. But first, let's explore the character of Mordecai, the man who guided her and played a crucial role in this unfolding drama. First, let's talk about Esther. Before she became queen, she was just an ordinary girl living in a foreign land. Orphaned at a young age, she was raised by her cousin Mordecai, who took her in as his own daughter. Esther was not just beautiful, she was intelligent, composed, and deeply loyal. These traits would become her greatest assets in navigating the treacherous world of the Persian court. But don't be fooled, her journey wasn't without fear or hesitation. Esther's courage didn't come naturally, it grew through the challenges she faced. Then there's Mordecai, a key figure in the story and Esther's closest advisor. A devout Jew, Mordecai was fiercely protective of Esther and his people. But he was also bold and principled, refusing to bow to anyone but God. This defiance would later put him in direct conflict with Haman, the story's antagonist. Mordecai's wisdom and unwavering faith became the foundation of Esther's own strength. Now, let's introduce Haman, one of the most infamous villains in biblical history. Haman was a high-ranking official in King Xerxes' court, known for his cunning and ambition. But beneath his polished exterior was a deep-seated hatred for Mordecai and the Jewish people. Haman's obsession with power and revenge drove him to orchestrate a chilling plot, the complete annihilation of the Jews. Finally, there's King Xerxes, a man of great power but easily swayed by those around him. His decisions often reflected the influence of his advisors rather than his own judgment. Xerxes' role in the story is both significant and symbolic, as he represents the unpredictable nature of the court and the fragility of Esther's position. It all begins with a grand royal banquet, a display of the Persian Empire's wealth and power. King Xerxes, in a moment of drunken pride, commands his queen, Vashti, to appear before his guests to showcase her beauty. But Vashti refuses, defying the king's order. This act of rebellion shakes the court, as it challenges the deeply entrenched norms of female obedience. The advisors convince Xerxes that Vashti's disobedience could inspire other women to defy their husbands. To prevent this threat, Vashti is removed from her position as queen. This seemingly small event sets the stage for Esther's rise, though no one could have predicted it at the time. In search of a new queen, Xerxes orders a kingdom-wide selection process. Young women from across the empire are brought to the palace, and among them is Esther. Imagine the pressure and uncertainty she must have felt, entering a world so far removed from her simple life. What makes Esther's journey extraordinary is her ability to adapt. She wins favor with the palace officials and, eventually, King Xerxes himself. But Esther's success isn't just about charm, it's her humility and wisdom that set her apart. All the while, she keeps her Jewish identity hidden, as advised by Mordecai, a decision that will prove critical later. Enter Haman, the ambitious and ruthless official who is elevated to a position of immense power. When Mordecai refuses to bow to him, Haman's anger turns into a deadly obsession. He devises a plan to annihilate all Jews in the Persian Empire, convincing Xerxes to issue a royal decree. This moment is a turning point in the story, a decree that threatens the very existence of Esther's people. The air in the palace must have been thick with tension as the news spread, leaving the Jewish community in fear and despair. But this is where the story begins to shift. Mordecai, refusing to give in to fear, calls on Esther to act. His words to her carry a weight that echoes through history. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Now that Haman's deadly plot has been set in motion, the weight of saving her people falls squarely on Esther's shoulders. But stepping forward isn't as simple as it seems. In the Persian court, even the queen couldn't approach the king uninvited. Doing so could result in death unless the king extended his golden scepter. For Esther, this meant risking her life to plead for her people. Before making any move, Esther turns to her faith. She asks Mordecai and all the Jews in Susa to join her in a 3-day fast, and she herself abstains from food and drink during this time. This fast wasn't just a religious act, it was a moment of preparation, seeking divine guidance and strength for what lay ahead. Imagine the tension, the prayers, and the silent anticipation during those 3 days. Would Esther succeed, or would her boldness cost her everything? Finally, the moment comes. Dressed in her royal robes, Esther enters the inner court, where King Xerxes sits on his throne. This is the ultimate test of courage, a single step could determine her fate. The room must have fallen silent as Esther approached, the eyes of the court fixed on her every move. To her relief, Xerxes extends the golden scepter, signaling that she is welcome. But instead of immediately revealing her request, Esther shows remarkable wisdom. She invites the king, and Haman, to a private banquet. This isn't a random decision. Esther is carefully setting the stage, ensuring she has the king's full attention before making her plea. During the first banquet, Esther still doesn't reveal her true purpose. Instead, she invites Xerxes and Haman to another feast the next day. This delay isn't hesitation, it's strategy. Esther is building suspense, ensuring that the king's curiosity and interest are piqued. Meanwhile, Haman leaves the banquet feeling triumphant, unaware that his downfall is imminent. But things are about to take an unexpected turn. That very night, Xerxes is unable to sleep, and what happens next will change the course of the story entirely. Let's move forward to uncover this dramatic twist. As Esther prepares for her second banquet, events begin to unfold in ways no one could predict. That night, King Xerxes is struck with insomnia, a seemingly mundane event, but one that becomes pivotal. To pass the time, the king orders the royal chronicles to be read aloud. As the records are read, Xerxes is reminded of a past event, Mordecai's loyalty in uncovering a plot to assassinate the king. Shocked to realize that Mordecai was never rewarded for this act of bravery, Xerxes decides to honor him immediately. This marks the beginning of a dramatic shift in the narrative. The next morning, Haman arrives at the palace, intending to seek the king's approval to execute Mordecai by hanging him on a gallows he had built overnight. But before Haman can speak, Xerxes asks him a question: what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Believing the king is referring to him, Haman suggests an elaborate public display of honor, involving royal robes, a horse ridden by the king, and a public parade. Imagine Haman's shock and humiliation when Xerxes orders him to carry out this very honor for Mordecai. Forced to lead Mordecai through the city streets, proclaiming his praise, Haman's pride is shattered. The very man he sought to destroy is now elevated, and the cracks in Haman's plans begin to show. Later that evening, Esther hosts the second banquet, with both Xerxes and Haman in attendance. This time, Esther reveals her true purpose. In a dramatic and emotional plea, she exposes Haman's plot to annihilate her people, revealing her own identity as a Jew. The revelation is a moment of shock and betrayal for Xerxes. The king, enraged, steps out into the garden to compose himself, while Haman throws himself at Esther's feet, begging for mercy. As Xerxes returns, he misinterprets Haman's actions as an assault on the queen. This misunderstanding seals Haman's fate, and Xerxes orders him to be executed, ironically, on the very gallows Haman had prepared for Mordecai. But even with Haman's downfall, the threat to the Jewish people isn't over yet. Let's continue to see how Esther and Mordecai work to reverse the deadly decree. Even with Haman's execution, the danger to the Jewish people remains. The decree to annihilate them, issued under the king's seal, cannot simply be revoked according to Persian law. This creates a dire situation. How can Esther and Mordecai protect their people when the law itself is unchangeable? Once again, Esther steps into the king's presence, risking her life a second time. This moment is as tense as her first approach. She falls at Xerxes' feet, weeping and begging him to save her people. Her desperation and bravery shine through as she exposes the full gravity of the situation. Xerxes, moved by Esther's plea, grants her and Mordecai the authority to issue a new decree. It's a remarkable shift of power, as Mordecai, once an overlooked figure, now rises to a position of influence in the kingdom. Mordecai's decree is swift and strategic. It allows the Jewish people to defend themselves against their enemies on the appointed day of the original decree. This proclamation, sent out across the empire, turns despair into hope. Imagine the scenes as Jewish communities receive this news, fear giving way to determination, families preparing for the fight of their lives. When the fateful day arrives, the tables are turned. The Jews, united and prepared, successfully defend themselves against those who sought to harm them. The reversal is complete, and their enemies are defeated. In the capital city of Susa, the victory is particularly significant. Mordecai's rise in the court, combined with Esther's bravery, ensures that the Jewish people not only survive but also emerge stronger. But this story isn't just about survival, it's about celebration. What happens next solidifies this moment in history forever. Let's move forward to explore the joyous aftermath and the legacy of these events. With their enemies defeated and the threat of annihilation lifted, the Jewish people turn their attention to commemorating this miraculous turn of events. What began as a story of oppression and near destruction transforms into a celebration of survival and divine intervention. Mordecai and Esther issue a decree establishing an annual festival to remember these events. This festival, known as Purim, is named after the lots that Haman cast to determine the date for the destruction of the Jews. What was meant to bring destruction now becomes a symbol of redemption. Purim is a time of feasting, joy, and generosity. Jews across the Persian Empire celebrate with meals, gift-giving, and acts of charity. It's a public acknowledgement of how the tables were turned, how the oppressed gained victory over their oppressors. Esther's role in securing the safety of her people cements her legacy as a heroine. Her courage and wisdom are celebrated, and Mordecai's rise to prominence in the Persian court ensures that the Jewish community remains protected and respected. As we conclude this incredible story of Esther, there are several powerful lessons that resonate through the ages, making this tale timeless and relevant even today. From the pages of ancient Persia to modern life, the story offers deep insights into courage, identity, and faith. The power of courage and action. One of the most prominent lessons from Esther's story is the importance of courage in the face of adversity. Esther risked her life not just once, but twice, to save her people. Her story teaches us that even when the stakes are high, sometimes the greatest act of bravery is standing up and taking action, whether it's for ourselves or others. Esther's rise to power, though seemingly accidental, was part of a larger divine plan. Her story serves as a reminder that sometimes events in our lives unfold in unexpected ways, and we may not always see the bigger picture immediately. The concept of "for such a time as this" speaks to the idea that we are placed where we are for a reason, even if we don't always understand why at the time. The importance of faith and wisdom. Esther didn't just rely on her beauty or charm to win the king's favor, she also sought divine guidance, fasted, and prayed for strength. Her actions were not just brave but also wise. She took time to strategize, carefully considering every move before she acted. This teaches us the value of thoughtful decision-making, prayer, and trusting in something greater than ourselves. The establishment of Purim shows the significance of community and gratitude. It wasn't just about surviving, it was about coming together as a people, sharing with one another, and celebrating the blessings that came from their unity. Acts of charity and care for the less fortunate became a central part of the celebration, demonstrating that survival is not only about victory but about supporting and uplifting each other. Esther's story is far more than a historical account, it is a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the power of faith, and the importance of standing for justice. It continues to inspire millions to this day. Now, as we wrap up, think about how these lessons can be applied to your life. How can you embody the courage of Esther, or use wisdom and faith in your decisions? It's a story that challenges us to rise up when the world feels uncertain and reminds us that even in the darkest times, light and hope are possible.